in like a different spot. It's like, and where's that live button? Oh, right there.
Folks out there, if there are any technical difficulties, I will actually take full blame because I'm that asshole who has to do everything on his phone, even though my sound isn't great or anything. I just love the simplicity of it because I'm a simple little creature. The rest of my life is difficult and frustrating, so I want this shit to be simple. And he sent me Restream, and I was like, "Fuck Restream! They won't let me do video and."
Friendly. They are not phone
Yeah,
friendly.
yeah, they're terrible.
They're PC friendly. They're very PC friendly, but phone, not
They
so much.
they asked me on the way out. They're like, feedback. I'm like, yeah, your mobile fucking sucks.
No,
So I said, can we do something else? And he was like, yeah, of course, because Josh is such a great host, and it is one of the best things about doing his shows. I've done literally like dozens upon dozens of, maybe even closer to 100. I've done tons of different shows, and I will tell you that the big problem usually is that people think just because they have a camera and a voice that they're a host. Well, no, being a good host means taking good care of the people who are here. And Josh Pantaloresco, for my money, has always taken very good care of me. So, in my mind, that makes him that is at least a major qualifier for him being an excellent host.
well, thank you. Well, thank you.
It's
No,
true.
I'm just also very easygoing. Like I learned this when I did the show at the very, very beginning. I was dealing with people that had their own little hangups of how to meet, what to talk, because people are like, who is this strange guy with a microphone trying to record me right now, right? So and even though I mean no harm, it's like, again, people get really, really nervous. I actually interviewed a 79-year-old attorney that turned into a writer this week. He goes, I was really nervous coming on your show, but you put me at ease right away, right?
Yeah.
Right, and that's it, right? Like part of the job is just, I'm here to build you up. I mean, yes, I'm building myself up too. I'm not going to lie. There's definitely a back scratching aspect to this, and I can honestly say, looking at the last little while, it's working out for me, at least on the audio strands end of things, very well, right?
Yeah.
But I'm only as good as my guest. So if I can put you in as comfortable a situation as possible, I'm gonna do it because I should, right?
That's a true story, though. You are kind of only as good as the guest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's true. It's totally true. Like if you can get a interview out of anybody. I truly do believe that. But the thing about that is, you have to be aware of what a person is and isn't, and that comes with a lot of practice. Like it really, really does. I have a big mouth. I can talk about anything and everything, which means I'm a great guest as well as a great interviewer because
Right.
I can do that. But someone's a little bit more introverted, like they're not bad interviews, but you gotta meet them on their level. You gotta meet them.
Yeah.
Right. You gotta meet them on their.
It's funny. I was on a show recently. I was very excited to be able to be on it. I really just had very high hopes for the show, and I won't. Obviously, you never want to name names, and I think that the person's good, and I'm excited to do this show again because I think this was just a terrible show. Like he'd been drinking, he had a bad night, and I think it just never got better. And yeah, it was rough in that regard. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, you had a bad night, and everybody did their best to make it as good a show as possible. But I really love that second crack.
Yeah, no. I mean, so my worst interview was in the last 3 years was my last interview with Robert J. Sawyer. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. The power went out 30 minutes right before the interview.
Oh,
actually, no. Actually, I should go back further. So I was supposed to interview him 4 days prior to this. Okay, my computer broke, so I had to go get it fixed. So first off, so that was one. So the wait for that. So again, this was everything that could go freaking wrong for this interview. Did. The second thing that happened was 30 minutes before, as I'm setting up the. So my dad's has a health store in Windsor, Ontario. This was in Windsor. But it's also partially a secret laboratory. You'd have to see it to believe it in some ways, right? I could describe, again, My dad's a brilliant man, but by most people's definition, he's eccentric. He would be considered an eccentric. This is no different. He had clicks and all this stuff going on. So in the process of turning all of it off, I hit the power switch by accident, trying to figure out what the fuck I did. What the hell did I do? Right? I cut all the power out in the room. 30 minutes before this interview is supposed to happen, by the way. So this interview came off incredibly snake bitten. To such a point, unfortunately, that I haven't had Rob back on the show since. I don't think the impression was very good, and it happens. Like you like I've done 700 something shows. Not every show I'm going to do is going to be great. I mean, I hope for it, but I mean, it's law of averages. Every once in a while, one's going to suck balls.
Yeah, it's funny because I was recently told a good friend of mine was like, "Hey man, I can get you someone really good, but they want to check out some of your interviews." And I was like, okay, now I got to track down the good ones because you don't want to send them. You don't want to even like just say, there's the link to my YouTube. Go check out whichever. No. I would law of averages. I would rather send you the ones that you should check out.
I'm in a weird spot at this point because I have so many interviews. I'm almost not like almost hitting a bad one would almost be an accident. Like it's like literally it would be, right?
When you leave it up to them, you know they'll fucking find it. They'll find the Sawyer somehow. You know what I mean?
No. Actually, here's the thing. That one isn't even considered what I would call a. It still went okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay, right? The one like, but you go back, right? There's a big difference in history for me. So I'm like, when my audio interviews, you're like, well, there's this one, and there's this one, and there's this one. What about my video interviews? Well, there's this one, and then after a while, I do so many. It's just like,
right.
If you go, you suck at this. Okay, which one did you actually at that point? It's like, what did you listen to? I'm very curious.
Yeah,
one of the ones if it's one of the ones that I think suck, okay, sure. But I don't think many of my interviews suck. I think most of them are decent, right? At least they're decent to good to great, right? So if you find one of the few like I would consider a stinker, I almost feel like you went and dug on purpose to find it. It's because I know what they are in my head. I know what they are in my head, and it's like you got to dig, right? You just got to dig. So if you dug and you found it, cool. You didn't want to be on my show anyway.
You win that round.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it is. Like whereas with you. Yeah, you don't really do a bad show either. Like it's in some ways it's more laid back than my show is.
Thank you. You know, the thing is that like you care about being a good interviewer. This is like you would love to be able to do this. This to me is not what I want to be doing. It's something that I do to help my career and to help others. You know, it is another one, and we were talking about that earlier, where it's good for you, it's good for me. So I do it, and I feel like that's kind of my one time a week where I'm kind of hopefully helping others and doing something cool. And sometimes I have a guest where they're helping me, which also allows me to help all those other people because now they've got all those new people. So, you know, that's really cool. But at the end of the day, if someone was like, hey, man, we'd really like you to do, say, like a full-time gig with us on our YouTube network, I'd be like, unless it's just doing what I'm already doing and just putting me in a different spot, then no, I don't. You'd have to throw a good chunk of money at me because it's not what I got into the business for. I want to be a writer. I want to be an editor. I want to be doing the creative aspect of it. I like taking this seriously enough that people want to be on the show, but not serious enough that I'm going to make this my life.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it totally does. That was my plan too. And here I am. Yeah. No, I no, because it's funny because I have 6 books out. Like literally, I legit have 6 books out. Most people don't know me for that. They just don't. I'm okay with it. I've put a lot of work into this, so I can't really say it's bad that you know me for this more than my books.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the fact that I'm a creative, that I think I'm a damn good writer. I really do. And, you know, it's just one of those things where that's not at this point in time what the universe of stars have said that this is what you do. And that's fine too. Like again, this has opened some very interesting doors. Like for example, I ended up doing the immigration show. I got paid to host and produce a show, and I got myself I can do video now. Like literally.
Wait, you did a show on immigration? You didn't invite me on?
No, I can't. That wasn't that kind of show, dude. I wish I could have. They wouldn't let me do it. It was weird. It was a corporate show, so it was a very different. That was part of the actually appeal to it for me because it was different. Could I go in this environment and do this? And it's funny. It's the only time in history I ever felt like I got fired for doing too good of a job.
Oh, okay. I've been there, but I'm interested.
So the show, by the time I left the show, when the channel started, their best hits were 500 views. When I left the show, they were at 14,000. I did good. Like I did really, really good.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, hey, I'm not going to take all the credit for it. I mean, my co-host did as much about putting the show together as I did. On top of that, I mean, the company did advertise the show. I'm not going to say they didn't, but the truth of the matter is, I can literally see where one of my big ideas for the show literally increased, spiked the viewership. Yeah. So I can literally see it. So I can honestly I can legitimately put together any kind of show. I know how to do it and do a good job. And also, to me, there is a creative itch that gets satisfied with that because you're still telling stories, right? You're still doing that. It's just the medium is different, right? And that can be, and that in its own way is very fun. But like I say, it took me about 2 weeks because there's a couple episodes of the show I can't talk about this right now, but now I can because I'm no longer under contract. It's the only time in my life I've ever felt like I did too good of a job, and I should have probably not done as good of it. I'd probably still be employed if I didn't do as good of a job. But on the same time, I'm looking at this on another angle too. Any company that will reward someone that creates something for them by letting them go. I mean, on a business level, on one hand, I get it, but on a personal level, it's kind of a poor business decision.
I don't get it on any level. And anybody, and if I'm gonna get fired for doing too good of a job, then good, fire me. You're the issue. Yeah, apparently.
Exactly. That's just it, right? That's the feeling I had doing this, right? Yeah. And when it was over. So I'm grateful. Now on the other hand, now it's not cutting time because about 2 weeks ago I was getting into do another podcast host thing, and that's where I got the idea to kind of do what I'm doing now, or trying to do what I'm doing now. This is either going to work, or at the end of the month I have to go get a real job like that. Yeah. I've made that, like it's that simple. Right. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This will either work or it won't. And if it doesn't, I go work at a Starbucks for a little while. While I'm still being creative, and I'm good with that. Yeah. But it's just that's where it is. I know I'm going to end up back freelancing too at some full time again. It wouldn't be the first time, wouldn't be the last time. But my plan is to make this work, because if it doesn't, I don't want to go through that process again. I'm getting too old for that shit, Chuck. Getting too old.
I feel you. I get it. I remember going to trying to get a job at a bar in my hometown, and the one bar that I had worked at, they didn't have a kitchen anymore, and they highly recommended me to this certain bar that they would all go drink at. It was the bar that all the bar owners drank at. Mm-hmm. So they recommended me there. Well, before I even had the chance to go to that place, I went to this other place, and it was like a breakfast kitchen. I was like, you know what? I'm going to really enjoy doing breakfast. So yeah, let's go there. And I went there for a while, and then the woman realized, actually, you know what? You're really good, and I really like you, but I can't pay you what you deserve to be paid. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I appreciate that. She's like, so I think, honestly, if you want to be taking better care of your family and making more money and stuff, you're going to need to move on. I was like, all right, okay. And she goes, why don't you check out this place? I'll put in my name. I'll put your name, a good name in for you. I was like, okay, well, someone else has already done that. So yeah, go ahead. So now I have several. And then I also have my own people who are behind me saying, I'll bring my own references. So I have all these references. I bring it to this guy, and he's like, this is some of the best people in this field on the lake. Why are they all sending you to me? And I was like, I don't, because they can't pay me what I deserve, and they can't. Their kitchens can't utilize me the way the way that I can be utilized. Like, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the restaurant for it, they don't have the clientele. They don't. You guys have all of that. He was so fucking suspicious that people were throwing their garbage at him that he didn't give me the job.
Yeah.
He kept saying over and over, like, why? What is it about? And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man. Like, seriously, I don't, like, I can literally pick up and do most of your menu right now if you wanted to do it. And he wouldn't even give me a shot. And it was just like, no, he said it. I feel like people are throwing me their trash. And I was like, but there's nothing about any of my experience or whatever that would tell I'm trash. You're just going on this weird gut. It was very frustrating. So I get you.
Yeah, no, I no, it's just part, like, it's part of the game. Like, you realize when you're doing this kind of stuff that, like, there's no such thing as a permanent job for someone like me anymore. I have accepted that. Like, it's just one of those things. I just realized that it doesn't matter where I go unless I'm doing it for me. There's no way I'm going to last. Like, it's not my work ethic. It's not my ability to show up. It's just the fact that in the process of doing all the things I've done, I've become very, very, like, I have so many different skills that I have to literally dumb down my resume as is. I actually now can make a 4th resume now because of everything I've done in the last year, doing podcasting, production, because I produce shows too. I've done that as well. So that's when you get to that point, you're like, well, you got to keep going down this path. But what does that look like in this crazy world right now? But like I said, I'm trying to figure it out. That's kind of where I'm at. And like I said, I got until the end of the month to really figure this out. And if I do really, really figure this out, great. You know what? Then the next step for me is probably going to be, I'm going to be probably moving back to Calgary for probably the summer, right? Doing what I'm doing, and then see where it all goes. It's, like I said, I know, like, for me, if I do go back to Calgary, it's going to be a slightly different place for me, which is fine. Because again, I'm just the other aspect too. I think this is the other thing that kind of happens as an artist, and this sounds like almost going to sound super cynical for people listening to this or watching this. You stop caring about anything but the money. And it sounds like that sounds cynical, but what you realize doing this is, this is a business, right? That's what you realize. And you realize that the way you've done things up until this point, at some point, if you got to make a decision, is your work worth something or not? And are you willing to fight for it? Right.
Yeah.
And I've hit that point. I have hit that point completely. It's like, okay, like the advertising ad thing I'm doing right now, I'm charging X amount of dollars for it. Why? Because I know that, like, again, it's just high enough. It's just high enough that I'm not going to get everybody and their mother coming to me, hey, can you do this for me or do this for me? But it's low enough that I'm getting like a mid-list tier. Like, I don't, and that's what I'm going for. I'm going for people that are halfway serious about their craft. I'm not, and that's who I want to be around. And I realize that means when I go back to Calgary, I'm not going to be around the same people I was in the past, because I'm taking it far more seriously. And a lot of people, and again, there's nothing wrong, by the way, doing this as a hobby, doing this as a second priority. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not me.
Yeah. And that's just our opening conversation.
Yes, it is. It is.
For everybody out there.
Because we're both serious about what we're doing. Like, we're both serious about it. Like, you're kicking ass as an editor. Like,
Thank you.
You're kicking ass. And like I said, you told me a story we can't tell on the air about your almost, right?
Oh yeah.
I can't tell you that. You can't tell that one. But you're going for home runs now yourself. Like, and I can imagine that your clientele is changing right now because you've hit that point yourself where it's just like,
It is. That's true. I think what's nice about editing is um, it I can still work with some of the people I came up with and have no issue with that and have some fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
it does mean that I do get to be a little more picky.
Mhm.
And it also means that, like, my rate's kind of my rate.
Mhm.
Like, there's people I'll drop down for, but that list is pretty small. And actually, I'm staring at one of them right now. My wife. Yeah, she's got that big shit-eating grin. She gets a much different rate than everybody else, but it's the way of it. And um, but yeah, man, for the most part, my rate's kind of my rate. And if you can't afford it, I mean, there's lots of other people out there who can do a great job for you. It just might not be Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do it. I'm doing it right now for somebody, right? And actually, it's the other cool thing that's happened in the last month. I've done more comic work, which is weird. I didn't expect that. Like,
No.
so someone went to me, "Would you like to write a comic script for like you guys shared a universe? You got an open invite." I took the invitation. I wrote a cool little story for it. That's going to be coming out. And then, John Westoff.
Yeah.
I wrote a Magic the Gathering story for him.
Oh, cool.
Well, yeah, I wrote one for him. And
That's cool.
And I'm actually going to be drawing a picture for him. Like I say, if you had told me a year fucking ago that I would be drawing and getting published for my art, I would have laughed at
That's
you.
badass.
Yeah.
That's really badass. Yeah, and I have the first on the stack, and I'm interested to see what he does.
Yeah, I will. I don't know if you know anything about Magic personally, but so I decided to take. So there's a subculture of you'll take a card and artists like to kind of retouch it up, right? So my story is really simple. What if the card doesn't like how it's been retouched up? It might have something to do with glitter.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it's just
That's a fun idea. Oh yeah, no, I've been playing Magic since just before Revised came out.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I'm old school.
Oh, my original set was Ice Age, so not that far.
That was shortly. So yeah, that was really close.
Yeah.
And I remember that one. And my wife and I have played. We just kind of jump in and jump out. We've been out for a bit, but we have we had a fucking massive number of cards. We sold them all when we knew we were coming down here, and we each kept our decks. So Wendy has her kick-ass angel deck, and I have my kick-ass fairy deck.
Oh, dude, you play fairies. Oh,
I'm a dick with fairies. I'm a blue-green fairy.
No, literally. Okay.
No, actually, I think I'm all blue now. I think my deck's actually all blue fairy deck.
So you don't have Bitter Blossom anymore. But so no.
Wendy goes, it's mean.
Of course it is. Okay. So I've played Standard off and on. So the last Standard I played was right before the Fairy Standard. And here's the thing, right? So it was Kamigawa no Ravnica was my favorite Standard of all time because it was literally the homebrew Standard. You could come in with a homebrew deck and do really, really well.
Yeah.
Right? That was the homebrew Standard. Time Spiral Ravnica was still very fun, a little crazy, but very fun. And they accidentally built a vintage deck inside a standard block with the dredge from below. Like that deck was crazy. Like absolutely shit crazy. So batshit, it actually won vintage the first time it went into vintage because he couldn't answer. No, because you remember Force of Will? That was the card that kept everything in balance. Doesn't do shit against dredge at all. Like he just walked in and just stomped it.
Yep.
Then your stupid deck came out with fairies, and it killed everything in the format, everything else in the format that you could do. Because fairies is the closest to autopilot I've ever played in a stand. Like I played it a couple times. It's almost autopilot. Almost.
Well, so like I don't like to do the tournament standard deck, so I make my own version of them, and I love to just take really weird concepts and have some fun. So for me, that's okay, babe. I'm a I was like that. I was all tilted. I'm a big counterspell guy. I'm a big control player, so having a blue fairy deck is basically like I'm gonna bring out a shit ton of fairies. They're gonna get really, really big, and I'm not letting you bring anything out because everything I cast is really cheap.
Yeah, so it was the fairy deck in that tournament fairy deck I played. Cool.
Oh,
No, it was no so buddy of mine. This is how bad fairies was for me. Buddy of mine gave me a commander fairy deck. There's a lot of good fairies. Like there's really a lot of good fairies. About 4 turns in, once I figured out, I had never even seen the deck. But again, I had an idea because again, it's blue and it's fairies. You're gonna figure some shit out, right? It was just to me, it was like I realized after a while that I didn't really have to think about fairies because it's got answers for everything. Although one of my favorite cards is a fairy. Sour of Temptation is one of my all-time favorite fairy cards.
Okay, I don't remember that one as well.
That one takes control of the opponent's creature when it hits the battle. I like it. It's a fun.
Yeah.
I feel it's fair because once it leaves play, the creature goes back. But it's a fair card. Not all Vendilion Clique is not a fair card, but I mean that's.
But that's the game, right? There's lots of not fair cards.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely no. But that one's dirty, man. That one's just dirty. But no, like I'm a big commander guy. But again, my colors are red blue. I like screwing with control players. Like that's why I picked that color combination because it completely. I have the best counter spells. Right, and they're specifically designed to go against other counter spells.
Yeah.
Right, and on top of that, right, I picked these evil little cards like Young Pyromancer and Snapcaster Mage, and I punish you all day long with them. I'm a different kind of. I'm the spell slinger kind of player where I'll just play like lots of spells and creatures that interact with all these spells and do really cool shit. That's me. That's me. That is me in Magic.
That's cool.
Yeah, so, but that was so when John goes to me, hey, you got a story, like, you're a Magic guy? It's like, yeah, I'm actually playing John online Magic on the 21st.
Oh, okay.
On the podcast. We're going to be doing it on the podcast. So I'm making a commander deck. He's making a commander deck. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to be playing, I'm probably going to be playing Nimizit Perun, which is it's a newer card as my commander. It's going to be a red-blue. It's just going to be red-blue cheese. I'm going to have some fun, though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally have some fun. But yeah, that's who I am. No, dude, but like, yeah, it's a great game. Like, I dug it. I dug it until I realized how expensive it was to keep playing standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, anywho, so moving on, you've got, like I said, you're doing more writing this year.
Yep, a lot
more writing. So I guess I'm gonna ask this. Like, obviously, you want to write more books. You want to write more books. My question is, do you see the balance going the other way, where you're writing more and editing less? Is that, or do you like the fact that you're editing as much as you're doing?
So I do see the balance going that way a little bit, but not enough at the moment that I believe writing is going to take it over.
Yeah.
So my hope is that now I would love it if that happened, but really what I would like to see is just that when they start talking about writers, my name comes up more in the conversation. It's nice to come up, when people are talking about, hey, I need an editor. It's lovely to be in that conversation, and I almost invariably am. But when it comes to writer, I really like to come up, and I'm really hoping that some of the work I do this year, I feel really good about the work we did on Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, which is coming out. I feel really good about Belial 3. I'm getting the pages. I just got pages. Actually, the last 2 pages, I just got them for roughs. And so every time I get roughs, I go back to the script and I look and go, does what he sent me work with what I wrote? And is that all going to work together? And so every time I read it, I'm like, okay, I'm still happy. I'm still really, and I often will go back to other scripts and be like, ooh, I don't like that as much anymore. But issue 3, it feels really strong.
There are points when you can actually feel yourself level up in any field. So the novel I'm writing for On down the road, right? I've been handing her chapters quietly, even though right now it's like I'm still trying to get my shit together. But even so, I'm still sending her chapters every so often. And the thing about it is, I'm having so much fun with this I turned Percival into an evil genie, like the evilest genie you could possibly imagine.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. I had so much fun with it. We had this really cool idea of Russian fairy tales and inverting all the knights of the round into evil bad guys. I figured out what I would for Percival. I figured out what I wanted to do with him, and it was like he could be the ultimate evil used car salesman. Right. All right. But what is it? But again, it's like you get yourself a bill, you sell yourself a bill of goods, and it's never what you imagine it to be.
Yeah.
And that I thought would be a really interesting take on the quote unquote purest of the knights, right? What if he was like literally the biggest bastard, at least in terms of his word? So I'm having some fun with that.
I like that.
Yeah. Right. So now he's not the biggest bastard. That would be my version of Galahad, which is just she's actually a she in mine, and she is literally the evil. She's like the evilest bitch on the planet. My main character is actually terrified of her. There's a reason for that. Yeah.
There you go. All right,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. I think of this shit up. Like I think.
I like that.
You. Again, when you get to the point where you realize, like for me, the clicking point was, what am I trying to tell every story? Right.
Yeah.
Because once I have that clearly in mind, I can play with it any way I want. Right. Because I have a clear focus of where I'm going.
Yeah.
Right. And I think 3 years ago, I didn't quite have it. Right. I had some of it, but I didn't have, like, I had the part where you had to put a bit of yourself into it. Like you have to. But I didn't have that part of, like, the mental part of the game is, what's the story you're trying to tell? The heart part of the game is, what's the stuff you give a shit about? I feel if you have those two things nailed down, you can spin a hell of a yarn no matter what the medium is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you there, man.
Yeah. He hit that with Belial. I get the feeling for you, Belial 3 was that moment for you where you're like, I got it.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I just feel like the stuff that I was trying to do with the first two, I took that torch and I ran and I did it better. And I feel like the series is only getting better from 1 to 2 to 3. I feel like I checked my turn pages. I'm really happy with most of my turn pages because they're not always, you can't always make every turn page like, but I do feel really good about all of my turn pages. I think the humor is spot on. I'm really happy with the weird setups that I did, and I feel like I'm setting up things for the final issue 4, really well too. So, I think what's nice is when I wrote 1 and then had to move on to 2, I was intimidated as fuck because I was like, I felt really good about 1. I'm like, how do you do that better? And then I wrote 2, and I looked and I was like, whoa. 2 was so much better than 1. And I was really happy with that too. So then 3 was intimidating. And then when I finished 3, now I look forward to 4 and I go, actually, I'm not intimidated because I feel like I've done such a good job of setting up to what 4 will look like that really the pieces are there. I just have to put them together. It's no longer about forming everything. It's about taking what's already there and just working with it. So yeah, man, I actually feel really good. I think 3 I really think 3 is going to surprise a lot of people. I think there's some hilarious and fucked up moments in there because that's the kind of book it is. But there's also a couple moments that are really beautiful and philosophical, and I think people are going to stop and be like, "Oh shit, that just happened in Belial," and so I'm really excited about that, and really stoked to show the layers that book has.
No, it's cool. I actually have a second theory though, too. Because you said this when you took over the book that it wasn't yours at first. Right? You were
Well, it was originally Sean Barbour had the idea and I took it from there and it took me a little bit to make it my own, but I was able to, and by my own, obviously it's still very much his book too. He's the co-creator, but as a writer, you got to put your own stamp on it. You got to give it your own feel.
But that's what I think has happened too, is like, okay, the first book, you're kind of playing you're playing nice. It's good because you have a clear vision, but it's not fully your vision. The second book, it's almost like that transition. I'm not saying, I don't know how much he's involved currently with the book, but I'm assuming
he's very involved. Yeah. He's actually editing it. Yeah, he's
But even so, I'm willing to bet as time goes on, because now you guys have a relationship, you guys know what you are going to do. He's stepped back on some things and it's kind of lets you be you more.
Maybe, but I'm not, because I'm not necessarily telling the story that in the vision that he had, but I think he still really digs what we're doing.
Oh, sure.
I think also, though, really the big thing is I actually feel a lot better about my writing. Like, I think really just that's it, is that I just feel a lot more comfortable in my skin as a writer, as what I'm doing, and in that series, in that world. So I feel like there's a lot less stumbling and going, how would this work? No, I know how it works because I'm in that world. I get it. You can even see, like, when we do interviews and stuff, when we start talking about Belial, it's a different shock. Like, yeah, I'm fun and all that, but it changes.
Baby. It's your baby. Yeah. It's your baby. It's always your baby, and that's and that's good. I mean, I truly think that if the creator doesn't give a shit, it shows, right?
Yeah, I agree fully.
Yeah, it shows, and I've had this. I just had a conversation with an author about, like James Patterson, the McDonald's model. From a business standpoint, I get it, but there's nothing like quite being enthusiastic for your own work. Like, if you're enthused, it carries so much when you talk about it. You know what I mean?
And I even know it from working with other people. Sometimes there's jobs where I'm just there for the money or for the gig. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. And you don't want to be there, but sometimes that's just what happens. Someone hires you, and you look and you go, "Fuck!" Like, I'll do everything I can for this, but I'm not. It's not mine. I'm not excited.
No, and it's. Yeah, I mean that's the other part. Like, going back to like the freelancing concept, is you gotta accept that as a creative. Not every job is going to be lovely, right?
Yeah.
All you can do, honestly, is try to insulate yourself enough that those jobs you really, really want come to you, right? And even the jobs that aren't quite what you're looking for, you can still make them fun. You can still do some different things to make them much more interesting than what they were. What they would have been for you. Like, I don't know if I'd ever send you a comic about, not Mr. Potato Head, but like a family of potatoes. There's no features on them, just a family of potatoes. I don't like, right. You'd be looking at me like, what the fuck did you just give me?
Yeah. You see, like, I'm not necessarily the weird guy. I'm not the one that wants to do this. And I know a lot of people who love that. So I'd be like, nah, man, there's better people to pick up and utilize. I'm not necessarily the weird guy. And that's not like I'm too cool for weird. This is like my headspace doesn't work as well in that realm. So there's other people who would just do amazing there. Go use them, and you'd get way better out of them, I'm sure.
Oh, I know, absolutely. No, I mean, that goes something else that's being said too, is as you figure yourself out more and more and more as a creative, you figure out what jobs you're good at, right? Where you want to be, where you want to go, and eventually what ends up happening is it aligns. Like, it totally aligns where you're going to be, where you're going to go, and it works out. And like I said, and then you'll get less of those jobs. I mean, I don't think there's ever such thing as batting 1,000. There's just going to be some jobs you're just going to look at and go, but for the most part, though, like, you'll get something like, something like Paul goes, like, I had, like, the audio of Paul's just dropped, I think about 2 days ago, right? Him talking about Bushy Boo made me laugh so hard, right? Because it's like, you can tell, like, this is for him because he talks about his love for his kids, but it's also like, he's a Scooby-Doo guy. Like, he totally is a Scooby-Doo guy, and this is his Scooby-Doo, and you can feel it, right, when you talk to him. It's like, so, like, that would be a fun book to edit, because it would be like, to me, it's like, wait, I get to pretend to be Shaggy and Scooby and meddle with kids, right? That totally would be fun. that potato thing I mentioned, I wouldn't do that to you, Chuck. I maybe as an April Fool's joke. That would be my April Fool's
right?
joke. Yeah. You'd be like,
and I'd be like, and knowing me, I'd be like, okay, you're my buddy. I'd love to help you out.
yeah. I'm like, no, Chuck, this isn't what I send you. Like,
Oh, good.
Yeah, you're like, thank God. What are you really sending me? Right?
Yeah.
Glitter dragons, all glitter dragons all the time. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Just making shit up as we go. Right.
Actually, somebody was talking about dragon stuff, and I was like, I'm the motherfucking dragon guy. And he's like, I thought that you might be good. I was like, really? Like, you picked up all the clues? Like, yes.
Yeah, like actually, maybe that'd be a fun question. Genre-wise, where do you feel your editing talent suits you best? I'm not trying to pigeonhole you. I'm just curious how you.
Yeah, it's tough because I worked on a lot, and I don't know that there's like a specific. Now, fantasy is my shit. It's always been my shit. I love fantasy so much, and so I'm very quick to pick out stuff and be like, why are you like? I read this one. This guy sent me a fantasy book to review, and I told him, I said, I'm going to be a little rougher because fantasy's my shit. And he's like, yeah, I'm not worried. I want to hear what you have to say. And I told him, I said, it was pretty obvious to me that the writer of this decided I want to write fantasy. And they didn't really read fantasy. They didn't give a shit about fantasy. And they wrote what they thought fantasy was. And the guy was like, whoa, you're not wrong, but ouch. And I was like, dude, I still said I enjoyed it, but there was just stuff about it where it was obvious you didn't know what the fuck you were doing in that realm. Like, they called, like the bad guys were called the Order. No, dude, that's every fucking, we hear that. If you're gonna use the Order, have another word. So I'm editing this one book for Arledge Comics, and when it came to me, the name of the book was The Castle's Treasure. And they were like, hey, you're gonna edit this book, The Castle's Treasure. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not gonna be the title of it. And they were like, what? And I was like, that's not gonna be the title of it. That's a terrible name. We're gonna do better than that. And they were like, oh, okay, you haven't even read it yet. And I'm like, I don't have to. As a fantasy fan, I could tell you I wouldn't fucking read this book. I wouldn't pick it up just on the basis the name is The Castle's Treasure. So now, here's the new name. And I picked it. It's Nesbrail's Legacy.
That does sound a lot more.
Would you pick that up?
I would at least be curious.
Right?
I would at least be curious. Castle's Treasure kind of sounded vaguely pornographic. Like,
well, if you want to go there, I guess. But it sounds like somebody who had made fantasy for a 4-year-old.
Yeah, or something. It doesn't fit the tone. Like it's not even like, unless the cover was stupidly ironic. Like it right. There's no way I'd even consider it because it doesn't feel. By the way, for the purposes of this, like, are we talking like we're talking Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson, George R.R. Martin? Like, that's what you consider fantasy, or do you include other stuff too?
I mean, I include other stuff. I mean, hell, if we're really getting into it, I would say that Star Wars is more fantasy than science fiction.
Absolutely. No, it absolutely is.
So from a fantastical point of view, I mean, like, again, they're called the Empire, and that's cool, but you couldn't do something like that again because that happened, and doing the Order just feels. Yeah.
Well, it's been done to death, like the Order.
Yeah, it's simplistic. Yeah,
it was very simplistic.
So you got to do something else.
Yeah, you have to do something very, very like, we're still telling a lot of the same stories. We're using some of the same story source material. It's just coming up with new interpretations of it, right? And all of us can do that. But you got to be a little bit more sophisticated. My Alice book. Guess what? I'm mashing up Alice and Pandora. I can use the classical stuff because it works in this particular case.
Yeah.
Why fuck with what's not why fuck with what's broken, right? Don't change if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that's a mashup. That's a very deliberate like mashup of ideas that fit a very certain thing. if I were to, and like I said, with the Russian fairy tale thing I'm telling you about, I'm a big fan of the Parker, like Darwin Cook's Parker novels. Like that's that's what I'm going for. It's going to feel like that, right? And then my all-time favorite fantasy stuff, though, all time, I have to tell you, Rogers of Lasny. Did you ever read Nine Princes in Amber?
No.
Tarot cards, parallel universes, Arthurian legends, or Shakespearean legends. It is a badass. And the thing is, the really cool thing about that, the novels were 200 pages or less. Just the first 5. Just the first 5. The second 5, not so good, but the first 5, really, really, really. Yeah.
I dug Terry Brooks.
Okay, I can see why you dug Terry Brooks.
Yeah.
I think he's gotten so much better now compared to what he was then.
I would agree.
So good now.
Yep.
Right.
But yeah, I really dug Terry Brooks, and I like the idea that there was an evolution to his world, that his world moved on. We weren't watching the same characters over and over and over again. We then got to see, where those families moved on and how and so I really, I dug that a lot and thought that was really cool. So I enjoyed his works an awful lot, and I tend to harken back to that a lot when I think of fantasy.
No, I figured I'd ask, like we all have that. For me, it's Jordan, Robert Jordan, but Brooks is an excellent choice, right?
I couldn't even read Robert Jordan, and I'll tell you why. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to attack anyone. His fans were so zealous.
They were.
That I was
one of them.
Just uninterested. And it was one of those things where it's like, you read fantasy? You haven't read fantasy until you've read Robert Jordan. And I'm like, cool, then I'll never read fantasy because I'm not going to read this if this is how they're all going to react to me. I'm not fucking interested. And it's finally gotten to the point where people are like, yeah, but you should really check it out. And I'm like, you know what? Before I die, I would like to check it out. I'm still not quite over you fuckers, but I'm getting closer. So, and the fact that you guys are now saying, I really think you would enjoy it a lot. Cool, thank you. I'm starting to feel that way too. It's still going to take some time, but I think I'll get there. But yeah, they were so zealous.
No. Hey, listen, it was my first fantasy series. I get why they were so zealous. I do. I really get it. For me, though, I had this anthology called Legends back in the day, and it had all these really cool fantasy worlds. Right, like Stephen King's Dark Tower, Terry Pratchett's Discworld, which is an underrated piece of genius.
I don't know that it's underrated. People love it.
No, fantasy people love it. But it's not like it doesn't have. I would kill for a Discworld television show. Put the Night Watch. Just put the Night Watch as the regular thing. I would love that so much.
Yeah,
you couldn't do it with Rincewind, and I get why. I think there is a Granny Weatherwax Discworld movie. Believe it or not, I actually could see it.
Didn't they do a Discworld like BBC radio show?
Yeah, they did. It was fun. It was fun, right? It was fun, but it's not the same. Like you're looking at it from the Night Watch, the Men in Mars, like those guys. Oh my God, you could do so much because that would give you the license to go in all the other crazy aspects of Discworld without actually like killing everything to death. But and also just on a personal note, even though death should be in every episode. Like death, the character should just be in absolutely every fucking episode.
Right?
It doesn't matter if it's part of the plot or not. He's just such a hilarious character. But no. Yes, fantasy people love Terry Pratchett, but from a mainstream perspective, he still doesn't get, I think, the full love he deserves, at least for Discworld.
I don't think you're wrong, but I think also it's nice having him to ourselves.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's nice that he didn't go all fucking J.K. Rowling and we had to share it with any fucking idiot who could read. You know what I mean? So it's nice having those things that like, this is fucking genius. Let's not tell everybody.
Okay.
Especially like Pratchett's passed away now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we don't have to tell everyone.
Yeah.
Discworld was fine. It was okay. Maybe it's not for you. And the rest of us will know. No, it's fucking brilliant. It's hilarious. I love that. But we don't have to tell everybody.
Yeah, the only one, like, okay, I gotta ask, which is your favorite Discworld characters? For me, it's a toss up between. For me, it's a toss up between the Night Watch, right, and the Death novels. I love. Yeah, it's a toss up.
It's like trying to choose your favorite kid, though, and on any day of the week, the answer's different. So I don't,
except for Rincewind. After the first 2 books, he's not so much. That's just my opinion.
And how many times have we seen that with other characters in other series and whatnot? Yeah, I have to, like, for me, the more I learned about Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings was where I cut my teeth in fantasy. The more I learned, even up to just before I started working in comics, the more I started to dislike it. I loved Lord of the Rings. I loved the movies. I was excited about the Hobbit movies. And then my wife got me this. And I had read the Silmarillion, but I hadn't really finished it. Like, I didn't get too far into it. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I can't. The Hobbit, The Hobbit, in my opinion, is the best of his books.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because it's simple. Like, I get right. Part of it, though, to me, I read Jordan before I read Tolkien. If I read the other way around, I probably would have enjoyed Tolkien a little bit more, and I will acknowledge that.
Well, and my love of The Hobbit is why I didn't like the Hobbit movies.
No,
because they decided to add all that extra shit in there that
it should have just been 2 movies. It was
2 tops,
yeah. I honestly, I could see 2 really good movies in The Hobbit.
Yeah.
No, 3, it was just, oh my god.
Or one solid Braveheart length movie.
Yeah.
But it did not do it. They didn't do it for me. And one of the big issues was, I love, one of the greatest things about fantasy is our heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found out more and more about Lord of the Rings, I went, oh, actually, one of the greatest heroes that I loved was Gandalf.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I learned more about him, I was like, oh, he sucks as a hero.
Yes, by and large, he does.
And the reason Gandalf sucks as a hero, because I'm sure there's someone out there going, fuck you, Chuck. You're welcome to that opinion. You're wrong. But I'll tell you why. Gandalf is a demigod. Mm-hmm. When I thought that he was a human who worked really hard to become amazing at magic and do all this stuff, I was like, wow, this guy deserves all of this power. He worked so fucking hard. But when he's a demigod, it means all that shit was given to him. Mm-hmm. Magic was given to him. And yes, he certainly worked hard, but the power was already given there. And there was something elitist that bothered me about the character. And he became less of a hero. Because to me, what was amazing about Gandalf, the way I saw him, was I could be Gandalf. Anyone could be Gandalf. You needed to go and study and work hard and do all these things and care. You had to care out of every piece of you had to care, because that was so much about him. But when I found out that he was a demigod, I'm like, well, of course you care. Your parents were the ones who created the world and all that. You've seen the world since, so of course. So none of that meant as much to me. So that's why Lord of the Rings just means so much. And of course, you grow up and you learn more and more things about, inherent racism and stuff like that. And you go, okay, yeah, that just didn't do it for me. So Lord of the Rings is stepped aside. I can enjoy The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, but I have no interest in going any further than that.
So for me, Gandalf the Gray is a cool character. Gandalf the White, see, I came up with an interpretation for him, and I understood why he was there, but I also realized, so in the way that world kind of worked was they didn't have an answer. Once he died at the Balrog's hands, they didn't have an answer for Saruman. Saruman was always going to be a problem. They brought Gandalf back to deal with him, and then when it was over, to take away all the things and all the people, like going beyond the sea is another way of saying death, is another way of saying to
it's elven death. Yeah.
It's elven death. So if that's the case, then his job, it was twofold when he came back as Gandalf the White, which was deal with Saruman, because He had to be dealt with. Someone had to deal with him. And then make sure when this is over that none of this stuff that was here stayed. It all had to go. All of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Frodo left. Frodo left. That's why Bilbo Baggins left as well, because they were touched by this old stuff. It had to go. Everything had to go for whatever this new world was going to be to have a chance to breathe.
Yeah.
He's not a human being at that point. He's more like a force in nature. And once you realize that, it's like, yeah, you can't. He was never in any danger. He was never supposed to be in any danger at that point. Now, Gandalf the Gray, much different. More human, understood his vulnerabilities, his limitations, his because my favorite scene with Gandalf, ironically, is not the Balrog scene. It's the scene where Frodo offers him the ring. It's like, please don't.
Yes.
That's my favorite scene with Gandalf in the entire series.
Yeah.
That's him at his most human. Just realizing I cannot wield this. This will destroy me.
Yeah. But it makes you wonder, did he know that he was going to be able to become Gandalf the White? Did he know that was going to happen?
I don't think that was the plan. Like, there's just again, if you read the book, he didn't want to go in that cave. I don't want to do that, right? I don't think. Well, I'll put it to you like this: maybe it was the plan, but much like Jonah and the whale, he did not want to go. Okay, he did not.
That's fair.
Right. So that's kind of how I see Gandalf. But like I said, Tolkien for me was ruined because I read Jordan, and when I went back to Tolkien, it was almost like reading my dad's fantasy novel, and I say it like that because Jordan and you compare fantasy today to Jordan. I mean, there are aspects of the Wheel of Time stuff used in modern fantasy, but I'll give you. Hey, have you read any Brandon Sanderson at all?
No. Okay.
Do you want a quicker way to read the Wheel of Time in a really, really, really great way? It's really awesome. Read his first Mistborn books.
Okay.
They're completely inspired by the Wheel of Time in a very cool way. You don't need to read right, and you will see why Sanderson was chosen to write the last finish Wheel of Time when you read those 3 books. Like they fit really well. You won't need to read the Wheel of Time. If you can actually go to them. I read these. I read the books from the guy that finished the Wheel of Time. Fuck you. Right?
Right.
3 of them, right? It's easier. Instead of 15 giant
books,
there's 3. And if you want to continue, you can. But if you don't, that's fine too. Like those 3 are good enough. Also, Vin is up on a personal. Vin, the main character in Mistborn's actually one of my favorite female protagonists ever. Really, really cool. Fun. Really, really fun series. And I love it when writers surprise me with some of how well thought out. Like I think my shit out when I write my stories, at least a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That does come from my reading of fantasy novels. I love the fact that some of the best stuff is set up like right at the very beginning of some of these stories in ways you never realize. And you're like, you are brilliant. You put it right in front of my face and he mocks me for it almost, right?
I actually did that with Belial. Mm-hmm. So if you go back and you look at page 1 of Belial, it's this woman and this man, and the woman just has to watch this man. It's a woman and her husband in a hospital room watching an old man die. And she just keeps saying, I just have to watch. I just have to see him die. And she's pregnant, and he's just like, hey, let's go. This is not helping you. And she's like, no, I just have to see him die. He dies, and then we leave that scene. We see this old man enter hell, and then we're in hell, and we go on with Belial and Link, and we move all past that. But at the end of issue 3, we get to see why that first page was so important and how it ties in to what I've been doing the whole time. And that was something fun that I had planned all the way from the beginning, because I feel like as writers, every once in a while, we want to be able to go, see, I thought about it the whole time. Like I had this planned out. And I think it's really important to me. And I think to a lot of writers to have that shit planned out and to be able to go, see, I know my shit. I know what I'm doing.
Well, it's because we're playing with expectations. Like when we tell a story, that's what we're doing. It's like, okay, here's a story about a man from Nantucket. right? And everybody knows kind of where this is supposed to go.
Yeah.
Right? You have a choice. Do you follow the expectation and add a twist to it? Or do you subvert it entirely? Right? A lot of people think the subversion's the right way to go, but most of the time, actually, it's not. I find it's actually better. I find it actually better to actually go into the expectations, because you can actually pull bigger, fast ones on people that way a lot more. Oh, I know what's going to happen. Do you really? Do you really know what's going to happen? I don't think you do. But hey, keep reading.
I like when they're half right.
Yes.
Because and I think part of the thing is that as writers, so often people like, I want to trick my audience, and you're like, that's good. I get wanting to kind of trick people, and in a way you want to trick them a little bit, but also there's something about people being able to read something and go, I had a good idea it was going to go that way because I know those characters so well, and that's what they would do. And I've had moments where, like, I was watching. This is one of my favorite little stories to tell. I was watching the movie 24-Hour Photo. Do you remember that movie with Robin Williams?
Yes, I do remember that movie.
So for those of you out there who don't know the movie, it's him. He takes pictures of these people and kind of ends up really terrorizing this family, but it's all accidental. It's just because he's an obsessive compulsive, and he just loves these pictures and feeling like by taking the pictures and having these precious moments, he's able to have it matters more, and he matters more, and he's a part of something bigger than just his sad, lonely life. And at one point, they have him. It's been like 20 some odd years since I watched the movie, but they have him in the interrogation room, and they throw down all the pictures, and they come at him, and he's basically said, yeah, like, I did all this stuff. Absolutely. He pleads guilty. And then they're like, so what do you have to say? And he's sitting there, and it's silent. And while we're, me and several friends and Wendy were watching the movie, and I said, can I see the pictures? And then immediately afterwards, Robin Williams says, can I see the pictures? And the room went nuts. They we stopped the movie, and they were like, what the fuck? How the hell did you know he was going to say that? And I was like, because that's all that character cares about. He wants to see the pictures. He wants to. His life is about to go to shit. He's going to go to prison and stay there forever. But if he has those photos, he has those memories. He's a part of something bigger. That's his whole life. And it's important, I think, to be able to not only just trick people, but also make people feel so much a part of that world that when something happens, they go, yeah, that's how that person would react.
Yeah, or and
because it means that you made that character right.
Well, also it means you're telling the audience the whole time. You are like,
yeah.
Let's go with let's go with a little simpler movie, Grandma's Boy. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. The guy who played Kylo Ren was in there. I was in there. He's the villain, JP. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. It doesn't really matter.
You mean Adam Driver?
Yeah, he's Adam Driver. It's Adam Driver's in that movie. He's JP.
The bad guy.
The guy that thinks he's half robot. That's Adam Driver.
I'd have to look that up because I didn't think it was.
Yeah, it's Adam Driver. It's Adam Driver doing that scene.
Okay.
But okay, so anyway, very early on, they cut to him. They show him going to his boss about an idea another game developer had. My girlfriend at the time, because I had to go, it's like, what do you think is going to happen? Because I had to go, unfortunately. It's like, he's going to try to steal the main character's video game. That's what's going to happen. And then either him or his grandmother is going to stop him. I hadn't seen the movie at that point in time. I just knew, like, that's the only spot they could go. Because that's why else would they show that scene of JP stealing this guy's idea?
Yeah.
Right? There's no other reason to show that other than to say that this is the kind of scumbag he is when it comes to that. And so you actually have a villain or an antagonist in the story, so that the Grandma's Boy doesn't feel like a complete douchebag, right? And that was the whole thing. Like it's a fun little comedy, but again, it's simple stuff. You can figure out with most stories where they're gonna go. I like it when I love it. I think Dark Knight Rises is why I hated Dark Knight Rises, because they told me what the ending was 20 minutes into the movie. The only question I had was which woman would he end up with when it was over. I knew he was going to live. I knew everything about that because when Alfred tells his fantasy, it's like, oh, that's the end of the movie. Fuck. Okay. Which girl is he going to end up with? It's the only question I legitimately had for the rest of the movie. I knew everything else that was going to happen. I hate that.
You know what? You know what bugged me about, and it's such a stupid, silly little thing. What bugged me about that movie was these people, like Gotham City is very much like New York. These people are used to having winters, and they, I remember there's a scene, again, I haven't seen it since the day it came out, but they had this scene where they would put people out on the ice, and it's like, if you want to try to walk across there, you can. And so they walked a little bit, and then they fell through the ice, and they died. There's like, oh, there's no way across, and I was like, no. Any idiot who's ever been on ice, and I'm a Canadian boy, knows, and so are you. You get this. Knows you don't walk on the ice at that point. You crawl because you're spreading your weight across a bigger area, and they would have gotten across and survived. And then that movie would have had no reason for being. But they had to make these people stupid when it comes to ice. That way it wouldn't let this whole idea fall apart. But immediately, as someone who's dealt with ice, I was like, you just crawl and you'd be fine. You'd make it across.
Yep. At the same time, like I enjoyed the performances. I thought like Anne Hathaway's Catwoman was great. I thought I actually enjoyed Bane. I think Bane. I thought especially the first 5 minutes, very good, cool job. But that movie, after the 20-minute mark, there was no surprises for me because I knew exactly what was going to happen.
I felt like the voices were a bit much.
Yeah, fair enough. But my favorite, but a good example of this though, and a recent example is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Luke Skywalker at the very beginning of the movie goes, what do you expect me to do? Show up with my lightsaber at the end to save the day? That's exactly what he does. It's awesome. That is the one, like whatever you say about the rest of that movie, I love that piece. That was like, they told you exactly what was going to happen, but it did it in such a way that you would dismiss it. And then it's like, no, that's exactly what's happening. We're not stupid. We know what you came to see. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a hard time with that one.
That one is an inch away from being really good. Is an inch away.
I would disagree, and I think the problem is all three of them are so far apart from greatness because there was no singular vision. It's a trilogy. There are 3 movies that are supposed to work together, and these were 3 movies that fought with each other. And I think anybody who says this one's trash over that one, no. I'm sorry, man. It's all kind of trash. And that's because, again, there's not that singular vision. That they were constantly fighting with themselves. And that was just a bad idea.
Well
figure your shit out.
Well, no, they were trying to please too many masters. Like they wanted that was like ultimately, if you want the series as a whole, they are trying to please too many masters. But I think, I there are lots of things I love about The Last Jedi, and there's lots of things I hate about The Last Jedi. But really, it comes down to one thing. And I realized what that one thing was, and it's like, this is why this didn't work. It was this. When you started the movie, so the first movie, Rey, as a mystery, works because it gives you a reason to come back for the second movie. But in the second movie, you have to answer that question. They didn't at all. So now, here's the problem. The main protagonists, I have 0 fucking reason to connect with them. 0. There are other things in that movie that don't work. The Fixer is probably the biggest thing that doesn't work in that movie by a shot. But that is forgivable if you know a little bit about who she is and where she's going. You don't. They leave you with nothing. Like absolutely nothing. And deconstructing the hero's journey can be interesting. This is one of those things I'm subverting expectations.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things I do like, they killed Snoke halfway in. That was cool. That was actually, the way they did that was interesting.
Yeah.
They had nowhere to go. That was the problem with it. They had nowhere else to go. Like I said, you give Rey a little bit more character, that movie can work. Now, Rise of the Skywalker. Okay, that's not this podcast. That one's terrible.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was thinking you were talking about Rise of Skywalker. Yes, I like The Last Jedi. You're correct. I like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it's an inch from being great.
I agree. I agree. Actually, yes,
it's legitimately an inch.
Yeah.
Right? It's legitimately an inch. If they gave her just a little bit more character development, the movie works. Top to bottom. It has some flaws. Again, I'm not crazy about that whole fixer thing, but it works, right?
Well,
Otherwise.
And I was okay with her being a nobody.
Yeah.
But give us something about, like, let us find out something about her heritage so that we can just move past that and go, great. Because I like the idea when you see the little boy at the very end with the broom and it looks like a lightsaber and you're like, yeah, anybody can be a Jedi. I like that.
Yeah.
That's great. They don't all have to be Skywalkers. Terrific. I'm good with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I thought it was a great idea, but again, the whole theme of the second one was failure. Have her at least feel lost. Have her at least like, what do I do now? Something, right? They did. It was like it's an inch. The Rise of the Skywalker. Well,
it's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Attack of the Clones is the only one worse.
Yeah, it was rough. And see, and I think that Revenge of the Sith is also an inch away from being great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say about 2 inches. 2 inches. Yeah, but yeah,
I'm fine with you. I can give an inch or two.
Yeah. No, because it's the same problem. You don't have an investment in outside the Emperor. The Emperor. I'll give you McDermott this. He had fun, and you could tell he was having fun with it. And when he was on the screen, the movie really sang. The problem was none of the other characters felt like you had a connection with them, and that's a failure of that trilogy altogether, not just that movie. Right? So that's my opinion. Like it's close. It's close. It's interesting. I love the temptation. Directly, there was a temptation in there. But yeah, I just didn't like Anakin, which means if Anakin's a douche at the very start and there's nothing redeemable about him when it's like, and also he killed Dooku too soon. That's the other thing I didn't like. Dooku should have been killed about halfway in the movie. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, but no, like that's it. But again, you're playing with audiences' expectations and. That's why it's so hard when you subvert them. When you subvert them, you have to have if you're subverting them, where are you going with it? Right?
Yeah.
Where
you can't just subvert.
Yeah. Most people fall into the trap of subverting. Like I said, killing Snoke. That's great. Hero's journey. Let's break that cycle. Okay, cool. So what's your new cycle?
Yeah.
That's it, right? That's a more recent example. But I mean, great writing figures that stuff out. Like you can again, I think one of the biggest things is that's what you're playing with. What expectations are you trying to fulfill?
Yeah. Well, and I think that is the failure of The Last Jedi is that it didn't set up the next cycle, what that was going to look like. So one of the people I love, Tom Brevoort from Marvel. Mm-hmm. One of his quotes when he was talking about, because there was that period in like 2006 to 2010 where every summer they were bringing out an event, and that event was nuts. You went like Civil War, Secret Invasion, like just all these huge ones that came out, and they were really good. And he said the secret to making a truly good event, if someone brings me an event and says, like when they brought him Civil War and they said, we're going to do this. He was like, great. That's a really cool idea. What happens after? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. No, well, then I don't care. I need to know what the world looks like after this thing is done so we know that how we're gonna, what our characters are gonna have to deal with, and what is gonna help lead into whatever comes afterwards. And I love that idea. It's always about, if this is ongoing, cool. Whenever you do this big cool thing that you want to do, what does it look like afterwards? Because if you're only worried about that big cool thing, then that will be cool, and everything else beyond it will suck. Because there's no thought in it. Everyone's doing their own thing. Like, no, let's see what the world looks like.
Well, it also kills everything before. Like this is the thing. Like the props. This is something I learned. And this is a guy that actually had a unicorn that farts out advertisements in his own novel, right? So I'm speaking like that. Like, yes, I do silly shit to amuse myself, but what it comes down to is this. Okay, why do I care about the unicorn farting out the rainbows? What's the motivation, right? And this sounds like really, because you want people to care the whole way through. You don't want to care for moments. Moments can be cool, but you want people to care about the whole story, right?
Yeah.
And once they realize that every little thing, and it's hard, like it really is. And like this is why, like I mentioned, like Pratchett is a genius, because you're laughing at some of the stupid shit he comes up with.
Yeah.
Some of it is really dumb. And then he'll hit you with something so brilliant. Feet of Clay.
And beautiful, and yeah.
Yeah, your Feet of Clay is one of those moments. Eric's another one, as I realized too. I mentioned Eric a lot, but I don't mention Feet of Clay. The golems. How did we solve the golem problem? 2 words. Be free. Instructions put in. Brilliant. Just fucking brilliant. Hey!
JD, we were talking about you earlier, homie.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, we're talking about like glitter dragons and just so you know, Chuck plays fairies. He's evil. But that's okay.
True story.
Yeah.
True story.
But before we wrap up, because I enjoy chatting with you, but I also get I also get the impression though that other things are on the horizon with you. So before we wrap her up, any good metal lately?
Yeah. Hey, can you pass me my record? Yeah. So I haven't been able to open it, but I've listened to it yet, and I can't open it because my record player is not working right now. But I got the new Trivium album.
Nice.
And I'm digging the shit out of it, and I love it. And just having the record and knowing that I can play it at any time, very excited about that. Metal? No, I actually I've been enjoying. My wife came to me recently because I love a lot of the ethnic metal.
Yes.
And so Wendy came to me recently, and she's like, "I heard this band called The Who. Have you heard of them?" And I was like, yeah. I tried to show them to you forever ago, and you didn't like it. They're like, well, they have this song with the lead singer from. Yeah, I heard it, and she's like, I have to say, the one with Papa Roach is way better. And I was like, I disagree completely, but I'm really glad that you're enjoying them. I love them for what they are, and I love, bands like them, Alien Weaponry, Bloody Wood. Like, these are bands that take their ethnicities and hold on to them and make it a part of their sound, and it's beautiful. Hearing Maori war chants and screaming about Indian atrocities and whatnot for Bloody Wood, like just all that kind of shit. It's brilliant. It's so amazing, and so I adore that stuff. So the more of that kind of shit I can hear, the better.
Well, like I think I mentioned this off there. I mentioned this on here. So in trying to interview this metal band, the local Calgary metal band, I got access to a publicist that does metal bands from all over the world. So that's certain. Yeah. So I've been So there's been a little bit more of a conscious effort to get more metal on my show, and it's been easier to do now because I have access to this. So like Crusade of Bars, which by the way, folks, I gave Chuck a little sampling of that. Pirate metal is that is pretty sweet pirate metal, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, European power metal and pirates together is really, 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 really sweet. So this month I'm interviewing Circa Arcana next. That's going to be the next.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm getting down. Like I had a Moth on the show, which I thought was super sweet and fun, and so I'm getting to meet all these cool little bands. So I've added a third little layer to my show. Is now it's creatives, it's comics as well, but I'm also like massively just. I get to let my inner metal head out. So now I just find more video the game companies, and I'm set. I got all my
right. Yeah, totally.
In one show. Yeah,
I feel you.
Yeah. No, I figured I'd ask that because it's always good just to, like I actually feel me, you, and Matt Knoll should just go on like a music exchange program, just all of us getting the different stuff. And
I feel like you guys see. I'm like Scott Ian from Anthrax. I love him because he calls himself and his friends call him Grandpa Metal, and that's because he loves what he loves. Yeah. And he doesn't try to move out, and every once in a while, something new for him will come along. Like I remember a couple years ago, OTEP came into my circle, and I was like, "Oh shit, this bitch is nuts. These guys are great." And I told a friend, and they're like, "Yeah, they're really not a new band." I'm like, "They're new to me, so shut up." And
for the record, Smash the Control Machine is the best of their albums. Just my opinion. But
see, I don't even listen to albums. I mean, we're in a streaming world, so I'm sure I've heard a bunch of the songs. But yeah.
So the one I like from her is Numb and Dumb.
Numb and Dumb?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, it's from that album. It's like it's fucked up. It's a pretty good, accurate description of how fucked up our current world is. And this was years ago, but if anything, it's more true now than it was a few years ago, right? So,
did you get to hear her cover of Lord's Royals?
Yes,
dude, that was sick.
No, she's great. No,
yeah,
she's absolutely great. But I love her original stuff. Like, she's also a poet. Right? She's also a poet. She actually does poetry readings live too. So,
you might not know this about her. She's also a voice actor.
I did not know that about her.
She is a voice actor, and she loves especially doing voice acting for video games. And she did a lot of extra background work, voice work for The Last of Us.
Ooh, no, that I did not know. That I did not know. She's a sweetie. I like. She'll say so every once in a while. She'll say something really, really nice on her Twitter, and I'll say it right back to her. I think it pleasantly surprises her because, again, she's trying to be nice just for the sake of being nice. My response is generally just to be nice for the sake of being, by and large, right? For the sake of being nice. So, because what I find what it does to people is, again, it disarms them in the best way. It's like, oh my God, the world isn't such a terrible place. No, it's not always. No. So.
Yeah. That's like I have a boss that I used to work with. My kid's now working with them, and I said, "Hey, if this person is going to come at you, they have a temper. They're going to come at you really hard. So when they do, just say, okay, that's my fault, and take the blame. They're not used to people taking the blame, and so when you do, it just kind of they don't know how to handle it."
No, it's I do it all the time. It's beautiful. I get away with so much more shit.
Right.
It's your fault. Yes, it is. Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm really sorry, man. What can we do to fix it?
Yeah, or at least I say I'm sorry. I don't necessarily say what can we do to fix it. Just I'm sorry. Even that's enough. More often than not, it's like right. Own your shit. It's so easy to do, and it's so and. It's like afterwards too, when it's all said and done too, you get away with more because they'll just they'll trust you. They'll actually trust you a lot more.
But also, you're not a carpet to be walked on. So if you absolutely didn't do it, and you really you don't need to necessarily say everything's me. But when it's you, own it, and it throws them off big time.
No. Yeah, that's important. Don't take somebody else's shit. Yeah. Just take your own. Your own.
Yeah.
You got enough. You got enough.
Yeah.
So you're in Cthulhu Meets Wonderland. You're in there.
I'm in there both as a writer and editor. Yes.
So did you edit all of it, or just or just pieces?
So what's happening is right now it's going through the proofing. We have I think about 5 or 6 proofers. They each get a separate story and they proof. Mm-hmm. Then when all the stories have been proofed, it gets put together, and then Travis's wife Heather Gibb, who is also an excellent editor, and myself go through the whole fucking thing, probably one or two times a piece, and we'll talk back and forth and just be like, hey, what do you think about this? What about that? I noticed this, and we'll go over the book as an entire singular piece, and then it's done and it moves on to printing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so anthologies are typically a little bit more complicated then. A little bit.
I would say ours are. These anthologies are more difficult because we're telling a singular story in each book.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling a story with like 30 teams. So each team has their story, and then Travis tends to come together and blends them all together and makes them work together. We have an overarching thing, and then you're able to make it all work together, and then that's when Heather and I come through, make sure that everything makes sense, make sure that all the little things that maybe he's not going to be focusing on as much because he's so big picture, that stuff kind of gets picked up and whatnot. And then by the time the three of us have gone through it, if it's the same as what happened with Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, we feel very good about what happened. And so far, with all the work I've seen with Oz, with all the work I've seen on Wonderland, I'm very excited because everyone has continued to do just an amazing job.
Sounds phenomenal, actually. Like I said, I feel like I owe Travis one because that I was working on this show, and the show went kind of, even before things got weird. I mentioned there was weird in other ways, and it happened right at the same time. I said I get to that one-page story, and I never did, and I felt really, really bad about that because it was just like,
I'm sure there's no annoyance or anger there, though. He's pretty chill.
Yeah, I know. It's just I feel bad because I gave my word and I didn't do it, and I feel like that. That's the thing. It's not even so much that he's mad. He's not mad. Like I want to do Cthulhu Invades Neverland because I have a really fun little idea with Smee, right? Of all the people of all the pirates, I thought that would be most likely to service the master willingly. It would be him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, totally would, right? Hook wouldn't want it because Hook has got an ego, and fuck that.
Yeah,
right. That'd be Hook, but Smee, Hook doesn't treat Smee very well, and and Cthulhu would just and the cultists would give him power. They wouldn't care, because they're going to kill him anyway when it's over, or they're going to turn him into one of those tentacle things when it's all said and done. So
right,
they don't care. They'll give you what you want, right? So things to think about for the future. But it sounds like you guys are doing very, very well, at least for right now. Is this the only thing you're doing right now, or is
no?
Oh God, no. Okay.
So I have just on crowdfunding right now. I have that. I have Cthulhu Is Hard to Spell 3. I edited a piece for that. Oh, cool. I also have Immortal Era issue 6 from Edward Davis, Finish Line Comics.
Okay, yeah, no, I had him on the show not too long ago, actually.
So I got to edit that one, which was excellent. And actually, as of issue 8, I will be the main editor moving forward of the entire series.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm very stoked for that. And then I also have what's this? Oh, okay, yeah, thank you. I was like, I thought that was somebody who was saying something. John had something else to say because he always has a smart ass thing to say. I love that guy for it. Then Fish Lee, who's an amazing artist and wrote a really good book called Green Zone Life on the Block. And I like to call it X-Men Meets Training Day.
Ooh.
It's a really good book. Deals with a lot of the issues that he dealt with young, kind of with gangs and all that kind of stuff, and also racism growing up in Arkansas and such. So really good book. Still a lot of fun, though, despite dealing with some very heavy stuff. Still a very fun book. So that just entered Kickstarter. I'd love for people to check that out. And then I also have a book that I'm editing for Arledge Comics, which is on Zoop, the other crowdfunding site, and it is called Shuffle. and it is all about an eighth grader boy who ends up finding this magical like alien suit that connects with his music player, and his music player is constantly on shuffle. So every time he hits the next button, a new song brings a new set of powers.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's very fun. I think people really dig it. It's a really good all ages book.
Yeah, you have to send me the link to that, man. That sounds
for sure.
Really cool. That sounds really cool. And also, and very quietly, if you like obviously Edward's got literally his episode goes up tomorrow. Like on the audio goes up tomorrow. Like it's already been done on Twitch, but like the audio is up, going up tomorrow. But no, if any of your collaborators would love to come on the show that you've mentioned that not Ed.
Oh, sure.
Let them know. I mean, I'm always up. I mean, you have to put me for like 90 minutes like you have, but if they can do that, I'm sure they'll find a way. Yeah, I'm sure they'll find a way to do it. But it sounds to me like we haven't mentioned your novel yet, because I know you got that kind of coming down the pipeline too. Mm-hmm. So my question there is, what do you like writing better, comics or prose?
Comics, 100%. Don't even have to think. And it's because as a writer, it suits my sentimentalities more. And I feel much more content with the idea that it's not all about me. It's all about this team working together and getting the best of us. And that's where I feel like I work the best. Whereas like my wife is a really good writer, and she works better in prose. So she has a comic coming out in May, which is based on our prose series that we did on online as a game. And she's doing a really good job with that, but she's also written a prose book that goes along with it. And she was like going, I don't know if I should do prose or comics. And I was like, honestly, you're a way better prose writer. Like, I would still enjoy comics and do it when you can, but prose is obviously what you enjoy more. So do that. And that's fine.
So I guess, and then this will be the final question. Then we'll get to plugging of stuff. Is Belial the series that you're like, this is my baby? Or do you have something else in your head that you kind of want to bring out to the world as well?
I definitely have other stuff. Belial, I think, is one of those things that I feel people are really just going to dig and have a great time with, and I feel like it could connect with a larger audience.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like those things that the projects that are truly us, you always tend to go into that one going, no, not as many people are going to like that, because it's me at my raw and at my deepest and whatnot. So no, that project, I do have a certain project that I want to get off the ground and make happen. And it's just been about time, money, and so many other things. And honestly, I think every time I start to feel like I'm ready to do it, I look and I go, nah, man, I can wait a little bit longer, because I'm only getting better. Why not attack it when I really feel like I'm really kicking it?
Do you want an answer to that question, a real answer to that question?
Go ahead, yeah.
Because you'll never get to it.
I get where you're coming from. I don't agree because it matters too much to me. But yeah, I feel you.
No. See, that's why I'm saying this. It's exactly why I'm saying this. Not because you don't care, but because you do. Here's the thing. Sometimes I've had this philosophy. Again, I've learned a lot of things in the pandemic, but one of the things I actually absolutely say to people is that fear is a door to what we really, really, really want.
Mm-hmm.
That story is you. Now, I get it. Some stories rattle in my head for years too. Some of them do. I get it. Sometimes it's not the right time, but I don't necessarily think that that's what this is.
Yeah,
you're in an interesting like space in your life, in the sense that you have, as an editor, you get to do all the stuff you really want to do by and large, right?
Yeah,
which is a great spot to be in. Right now, you got some bigger things, some bigger fences you want to swing for that way, but by and large, you're exactly where you want to be there. And now you're going into your writing stuff. Now, Your prose novels make sense because that's also your audio. It's another passion project
Mhm.
that way, which is cool. That's why you're doing it. Belial makes sense because it's almost like you're training, because this is how you do it. Like, yeah, right. It's like you're training. But here's the thing for a guy like you, you're going to keep getting more opportunities as you keep going. And I think for you, and they're all enticing. And so it's easy to put your stuff back that you really, really care about in the back, where it's like, well, I'll get better and get better and just get better. No, there comes a point, and this is like a personal gut check on the inside as well, where it's like, okay, like I want to do an Alice in Wonderland board game to go with my book. Financially speaking is what's holding me back. Not nothing else. That will change. Inevitably, that will change. I'm going to do it because that, right? And it'll come when it's ready to come.
Yeah.
Right. That again, that's not what's holding you back. You, right? For you, it's more along the lines of, there might be some time issues, legitimately, and I'm not going to say there isn't, but I also feel that there's going to come a point, if it's not there yet, that you're going to have a momentary lull, either when the next novel's finished, either when Belial 4 is finished, or something will come up where you're going to have a gap. And you're going to get one of those opportunities right there to do this series.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you're also going to get an opportunity to edit a book you always want to edit, or write something else you want to write too.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, right, the tendency there is, okay, what makes the most sense for me? Financially first, right? Because you love them all, then it's like a financial decision at that point, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes, Chuck, it's not always about the money either. Yeah, as much as I right, and
no, you're right. I feel like when Belial is done, that will be a really nice kind of hole and move where I can move. So that is one of the things that I do see as a barrier, but like a barrier I'm happy to, I'm fine with being there, where I'm like, once that thing's done, as a writer, that really clears my schedule. And then, I feel like that can open up. And at that point, I really want to attack this thing.
No, that's fair. As long as there's a plan like that in place, then cool.
Yes.
But I have heard many an author, many comic creators say the same thing you just did.
I feel you.
Yeah, and I'm like,
that's why I couldn't argue you, because I'm like, I've heard it too.
Yep. You're like, I know what you're saying. I want to disagree. I can't. But at least you have a plan. As long as you have a plan, it's all good, man.
I do have a plan. Whether I fall through with it, we'll see. But you'll know when it happens.
Well, there's an old saying: "How do you make God laugh? Tell him your plans." That's how you do it. Because that is totally.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, I know. I believe it. Like, nothing in my creative career has been planned. Nothing. Yeah. The podcast was an accident. Accidentally getting traditionally published, but it was an accident. I didn't plan it.
Editing accident. Yeah.
It just went there, right? But that all said, I mean, you're here, you did it, and you're doing it, and in a small way, I envy you because you're farther along the journey than I am. But I'm also happy that you're doing it as well, because that also tells me you can do it, so can I, and so can others. Yeah. And you, dude, you as it stands, you've already had a very awesome career, and it's only going to get better. Right.
I hope that too. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. And I'm excited to see your career too. I love being around all these people where you get to grow with them and see them grow as you grow. So I'm excited to see as changes overcome me in my career. I'm excited to see that in you and the other cool people that we've surrounded ourselves with.
So I will say this, like, for me personally, my favorite thing to watch you grow has been the fact that you actually did the novel. That to me was one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen from you. That was my personal, good to find you, buddy.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. We should probably promote. Okay, so if you give me all the links, I'll put them all up here so people can see them.
Okay.
If you don't want to do that and send it to me for the audio, I totally get that too. Because but if you got links, like, that would be.
I don't have any on me right now.
Okay, so this is the one where we'll focus on then, folks. This is Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. You want to do the master pitch while here?
Yeah, man. Cthulhu Invades Wonderland is an amazing 200+ page book about exactly what it says, the invasion of Wonderland by Cthulhu and his minions. And how are they going to fight back? How is it going to go? That is all determined by, I believe it's, I mean, I think it's like 75 creators all working together to make a bunch of short stories that all create one cohesive story that is this invasion. And as much as this is a sequel to Cthulhu Invades Oz, it is also still very much its own story. So if you don't want to have to go back and read the first one, that's okay. You don't have to. This very much still stands on its own, but it's given some more depth and whatnot by the original. So we would love it if you guys check them out. I think you'll absolutely adore it. You get to see some amazing work by a lot of incredible up and comers, and I think you guys are going to be so super stoked. And of course, the Orange Cone team always puts out a beautiful product. It just, when I sell those books at cons, they fly out. I literally sell out every single show. So I know you guys will love it.
Yeah. And where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Chuck, Pineau. You can find me on Twitter at Chucky Pim. You can find me on my Chuck's Raw Reviews YouTube channel, where I not only every now and then, not as often anymore, drop comic book reviews, but I also have my weekly show, Chuck's Shop Talk, where I sit down with creators, much like what we're doing right now, and just have a really fun time, get into the creative process, but also just have an enjoyable live event.
And I gotta say this from both being a participant and an observer, Chuck's shows are always lively and fun.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So beyond that, folks, I got two things to promote right now. So we'll just do this in order here. First things first. Alice 1, my sequel to Alice 0, the Elgin Award nominated Alice 0. It's Alice in Wonderland, Greek mythology, mashed up together. Alice is in Pandora. In this place, Alice chases the Queen of Hearts over the edge of the world and ends up in the Greek underworld. To escape, she must play Jason of the Argonauts croquet in order to get out. And in the underworld maze, Alice and company discover gods, monsters, and perhaps most terrifying of all, themselves. Available now on Amazon. And number 2, if you are a creative and you want to advertise yourself, your services, I will happily do this for you. As I know, a lot of creatives are very uncomfortable talking about themselves. I do not have that problem, and I have no problem building other people up as well. I make you videos, TikTok videos, Instagram. I also do audio, written, graphics. I do all these things, creating a package for you to bring out the best version of yourself and the story you created. You definitely check out the webpage right now, jpentaloresco.wordpress.com/advertising services for more information. If you want to see some of my work, I just did my first stuff with Kat Flannery, best-selling author. Definitely check out the stuff there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will be that for this week's episode. But before I go, you're coming back Friday, aren't you, buddy?
I don't know yet. I know that the Cthulhu crew is. Whether I'm going to be here, I have so much crap going on.
No, it's
but
totally
I'll try
fair.
to pop in.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So this Friday, we're going to do something a little different on the Just Joshing podcast, as I don't even know who the guests are going to be at this point.
It's a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's going to be all over the spectrum. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's basically the creatives behind Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. So what we're going to be doing, folks, next week on the podcast, Monday and Tuesday on the audio editions, Chuck's conversation and that conversation will be going right before the deadline, because I just want to make sure they get onto the audio. The audio is where most of my audience is, and it's growing significantly. Thank you, everybody, for that. But I'll be this Friday. Tomorrow, I gotta make sure. I always gotta check, because I have a pretty loaded show. I got author Pia Felix coming on the show, so definitely come check that out. All right, guys, that'll do it for this week's episode. Today's episode of Just Joshing. I'm a trained professional. You can tell, folks. All right. That'll do it. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. I'll see you guys tomorrow.